you look at the news, everything is always negative. Why? Gets your attention. Because the way our brain is wired, we're more driven by fear than anything else. So my name is Charlie Johnson. I help online business owners escape the golden handcuffs of like delivery, helping them scale from 10 to 100K a month with simple, repeatable systems. I built 2 7-figure businesses under 12 months. So if you look at why MrBeast crushes on YouTube, if you look at his YouTube, everything is a curiosity gap. The title, the thumbnail, like the curiosity, but then there's also fear. Those two things like kind of paired together work very well. 50% of coaches will be extinct in 2026 because of AI. Here are the 5 things you need. If you don't have the minerals to start a business, you're not willing to do the work and do X, Y, Z, then keep scrolling.
Before we get started with the episode, our books are now open.
If you need help getting in front of the right people, finding your dream customers, or winning new business, we might be able to help.
Why not outsource your sales to We Have a Meeting? Just go to wehaveameeting.com.
Charlie, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you. Very excited for today's conversation.
So am I. So, big open question. We're going to kick it off. Who are you and what problem do you solve?
So my name is Charlie Johnson. I help online business owners escape the golden handcuffs of like delivery, helping them scale from 10 to 100K a month with simple, repeatable systems. I built 2 7-figure businesses under 12 months, and we've helped over 1,200 people scale their own online businesses. I've helped, in my previous business, 17,000 people get in shape as a fitness trainer. And the big thing we're focusing on right now is helping people scale with predominantly AI and ads and organic content over the next 2 to 3 years.
Nice. Okay. So if it was a doctor's surgery and I came to see Dr. Charlie, what are the symptoms that I'm maybe facing in my life and my business that you can help solve?
That you're being kept up at night, paranoid where the next lead in sale is going to come from. Because this is what I see every day, is that people are worried. I see you smile because you know it's true. Because this is as business owners, you're always wondering like where is essentially like the next punter coming from English perspective. And our job is essentially to solve that and then create repeatable systems where you constantly have lead flow coming through and actually building a brand around that. Because over the next 3 to 5 years, people's brand identity and also create trust with people is going to be the most important thing. Because someone showed me at the gym this morning an AI of someone, and the whole thing's not even real, but you would never even know. And this is where like authenticity is going to become even more important.
So take us back then to the origin story. So in terms of the 2 7-figure businesses in 12 months, that's really rare to get that in 12 months. What were those core ideas and how did you get there so fast?
So the first one was in 2019. I left my full-time job as a real estate agent. So I used to work as an estate agent in the UK, out in a place called Surrey. And I left my job, then went into online fitness coaching. I had no kind of really idea what I was doing, but I realized, okay, I could get traffic from social media. I kind of figured out how to kind of sell and systematized a way through that pretty quickly in terms of just blasting traffic in through like DM ads to then high ticket sales calls to then into clients. It was a very messy, unorganized operation. Fast forward 3.5 years later, I had people kind of knocking down my door to help them do the same thing in fitness businesses. And I decided, okay, I should probably do this. And it took us, I think, 3.5 months to get to a 7-figure run rate with that business. Way, way quicker because I just knew what I was doing straight away. And I think this is probably a good example in terms of when someone has experience already, you know what problems to solve in the right order. And one of the biggest problems I see with people in businesses is they're fixing the right problem, but at the wrong time, which is why the business doesn't grow.
So I think it's important to play devil's advocate throughout the conversation, right? So
always.
You will have some natural traits about you. You seem like a charismatic guy. I've only just met. You're a good-looking fella. People will naturally think, okay, well, did he get lucky? 2 businesses hitting that? Yeah, okay. But why would that work for my business? People would naturally probably argue the case of how could Charlie then take that and bring that into my business?
Okay, so the highest level of authority is someone who's done the thing and they've taught other people to do the thing. I had a guy, I just told you before this, we had a podcast with actually a guy who's a client of ours, and he's an addiction specialist, completely different. He helps people who have a cocaine addiction. Guys making a lot of money now, because that's a very big problem that a lot of people don't realize. Completely different, has nothing to do with the way he looks way he looks. And this is where you actually have to look. You have a red ocean, a blue ocean. A red ocean is actually what I've done in both those businesses. Fitness coaching and then helping people scale fitness businesses. What's actually a blue ocean is being someone who can help cocaine addicts online, because that's a very unique offer and a very, very high pain point. So that would be my kind of counter argument to that, is I'm swimming in a red ocean where actually it's not a great offer in that respect. So I have to have a high skill set. Whereas if you have a blue ocean offer, it's way easier to scale.
So I don't know how much is gated, Charlie, and I'm not asking you to give away all of your secrets, so feel free to give away as much as you want. But, okay, so I'm there, and these problems are keeping me up at night. Obviously, you've got solutions that you're aware about that people probably just don't know. They don't have the information. They've not found it. So what are the key things they can implement straight away to start getting that movement?
The first thing I'd look at is like, do you actually have the numbers of your business? So like, what is the problem you need to solve? So the majority of businesses we work with will take sales calls and on Zoom, and they will sell their products essentially that way. So we would look at, okay, how many calls are you booking? What's the close rate? What's the offer? What's the price point? Where is the lead generation source? And try and basically find the bottleneck in the funnel. So one of the most important things I say for everyone to do is actually have all those numbers, and then look, okay, what seems to be the point of constraint that's off. And it's that kind of theory of constraints. If you fix the problem, then the business will grow. The easiest way to generally look at that is actually normally higher up that kind of funnel pathway. So if you say, for example, if you were running a VSL, for example, a video sales letter, so running ads or organic traffic to a funnel, which is going to book a call. If you take that to a 10% opt-in rate to 20% opt-in rate, you will double your entire business, theoretically, provided everything else stays the same, which it should. So I would try and find what the actual problem is. So firstly would be like looking at the data and the numbers. I think a lot of the business owners that I work with and I speak to, and I'm not sure if it's the same for you, a lot of them don't charge enough. And that's also because it's a fear thing. And sometimes it's a self-worth issue. And partly that can also be a skill issue. So one of the things we also look at is very heavily the sales aspect, because we look at predominantly businesses go out of business because they only go out of business because they run out of money. So if you can focus on generating revenue, that kind of solves all problems. So you do that from two ways with what we do, which is booking sales calls and closing sales calls. And we can help people a lot in terms of like booking calls, but if they can't sell to save their lives, the whole thing doesn't work. So we'd also be looking at, okay, can you improve that back end process from the sales aspect? Because sometimes if you tweak that a little bit, it can make a massive difference to the whole ecosystem.
Nice. So the lead generation is obviously the game and the problem that we're trying to solve. From my experience, I think we always say that not all meetings are created equal. So that's like a bit of a mantra that we throw around. So if you've sent someone a LinkedIn DM and a cold email, and you've cold called them and had a 15-minute conversation and you've actually asked the right questions, there's different levels, isn't there? So what can you tell us about when you're talking about like these VSLs and using your system? What can you tell us about the quality when it gets to that meeting point?
So the most important thing is, I think it's like a 7-hour rule, it's called by Google, is they did a study, it's like how much content does someone need to absorb information before they kind of bought and they're ready to buy. It's roughly around 7 hours. So that would be a lot of reels or a lot of skim through short form content. So one of the things that we push very heavily for people to do is have some type of long form asset, like a podcast like this, that you could send someone before a call. And the goal is you get them to kind of binge through that type of stuff. Because if you can increase their exposure to your organic content beforehand, it makes a dramatic difference. Now, the second thing you can do is you can actually orchestrate and engineer this with paid advertising by forcing paid ads to people that are organic content to people who have booked a call that haven't had the call yet. So they keep seeing you coming up in their feed all the time with things that are likely to come up in the sales calls in terms of maybe like limiting beliefs or objections. You can kind of pre-handle that, and also a lot of social proof. So those would be kind of like the two big things we would look at that help a lot from that aspect.
We are entering a new era of outbound.
4 years in, We Have a Meeting has leveled up our entire offer. That's why multi-billion-pound brands trust us.
And we've booked meetings with Netflix, Spotify, Facebook, even Barcelona Football Club.
We've helped close deals up to 950,000.
We're doing it all. Phone, LinkedIn, email, direct mail, and there's a few weird and wonderful possibilities that we're keeping in our back pocket. So if you're struggling to get in front of the right people at the right time, inquire today.
One of the really interesting things about this kind of top of funnel piece is obviously you can potentially close a lot of deals with all the wrong types of people and have this big kind of fluctuation where you're not bringing in people you can actually retain. So I suppose, what have you learned about how to set things up properly from the start so that the people you work with end up being sticky and stay with you for a long time?
The goal is not just acquisition, but it's retention. So we are so lucky now in terms of having AI that a great hack for anyone is if you just take the last 3 months sales calls, run it through AI, take all the transcripts, put them through AI, ask it what are the biggest pain points of all these clients that keep them up at night, what are the top 10 negative hooks that are going to trigger these people. You could also get your best client to do a Ocean personality profile test and also run that into the AI and basically create ads and creative on the front end that is going to appeal to that type of avatar, because you want to try and be very specific in terms of the messaging you use so you get the right type of clientele come through. And the way I try and think about marketing is like a push, the same sales, like push-pull technique. It's like, this is who this is for, this is who this is not for. So if you don't have the minerals to start a business and not willing to do the work and do X, Y, Z, then keep scrolling. Like we actually filmed an ad like that 2 days ago. And I think also understanding the market if you're looking to target. So I filmed some very brash ads on Monday, which are going to be targeting the US market. Now, I probably wouldn't try and run that to the UK. Well, I probably will, but I'll probably get some flack for it. But I think in the US, it will do very well because they like that type of advertising, whereas in the UK, we're kind of reserved. So I think it's also understanding the market of who you're looking for and also the language. So the last piece of that I'd say is from an organic perspective is I would try and avoid things around like mindset issues or the problematic clients that you don't want to have. If you start to talk and advertise those type of things, you start to pull those people in.
Nice. So when you think about the relationship between ads and AI, where is the opportunity between them crossing over?
Okay, so the twofold. So one is your ability, like I kind of touched upon, to be able to harvest essentially and mine huge amounts of data so you can be super specific. So you can find out the exact things that are going to resonate. And the way I'd frame this, Zach, is that I always say to people, like, have you ever felt like someone just read your mind? That's literally what we're doing, because we're taking the exact language, the exact terminology that people are using on calls, and then we're pulling that data out. We're getting personality tests. So we're effectively create propaganda to manipulate these people then into taking the action we want. And then also with the second part of that, the way Facebook meta ad algorithm works now is run on AI. So it will analyze the copy of everything you say and try and match it to the individual who's going to respond with that, even to like the clothing you wear or the background. So for example, if I was working with a fitness trainer, I would tell them to film on either in the gym, in a kitchen, or maybe in the beach looking in great shape. That would be it. Nowhere else.
So when we think about where the world's going, we're starting to dabble as we grow the business. So I thought there's no one better to ask. But when I think about ads, there is that fear that actually it's a saturated market now and everybody's just skimming through them. And actually there's this bias floating around when I go out for dinner with some friends, like, do ads actually work? What do you find goes into making a compelling ad?
I would say ads work if you have strong organic. So like you have to have also a brand behind what you do. So I think if you have no organic content and you don't look presentable online, you are going to struggle in paid advertising. It's like two legs of a chair kind of holding itself up. If one of them is not there, then it's kind of not going to work. The chair's going to fall over. So I think for everyone, you have to have some form of organic alongside paid advertising. I think in particular in the info space, right, relying purely on paid traffic to cold is very, very difficult unless you have a very unique offer and a very high skill set. So what I think is important from a creative standpoint is making ads that really stand out. Because what I find in particular with this, and we actually had this last month, we increased our ad spend quite a lot and our revenue increased a lot, which is great. We made loads of money. But some of it wasn't even like, our ads weren't much more profitable than the month before, but our revenue went up. Why? Because our ads are really good and interesting. So then people actually come into our organic funnel as well and they'll follow us. So then our setters will then go after people from that point of view. So this is where you have to see the whole thing as like, I call like spiderweb marketing, because it's like an ecosystem. Whereas a lot of people just look at the direct ad rather than like the whole of the business, if that makes sense. So I think if you can make the creative really good, really engaging, and then have it like with the right copy, which you've used with AI. And then the third hack I'd give to everyone is look for ads that you see that like, whoa, that caught my attention, is engaging, from a completely different niche. So I don't know if you've seen it, but I filmed an ad, which is me like running along with like 3 boxes with like a Ferrari in the background. I stole that off someone else who was a content creator who was selling a content course. It's like, that's sick and that's really engaging. So I just took the same kind of framework and then manipulated it to my niche.
Nice. Okay. And then you said something there that I think like it's probably worth like doubling down on in terms of, will the audience get it? So you're pushing people through to this organic, and then you've got setters going after them. Now, I've obviously been in the space, setters, closers. I feel like I'm down with the kids, Charlie. But what is your strategy around that? So like, obviously you've got your ads and you're trying to get people to come to you, but it sounds like you're actively doing outbound as well. So talk us through that.
So the easiest ads funnel for anyone to run, which is like the most consistent, the lowest risk, and it's very, very difficult for it not to work if you have any ability of skill, is running like a boosted follower campaigns. So if you have an Instagram profile and you make decent content and it's specific and it's targeted, you push that out of paid advertising to your ideal client. They then like, oh, I really like this client from Charlie, content from Charlie. They will then follow you. We would then have the setter engage with that person and basically send them a message. And a great framework for anyone's message we find works really well that you can write down. And if you message me, we'll do this to you. Which is why you should follow me. Is, hey, thanks for following. Are you following because you know one of our clients, or are you looking to scale your business? So like, it's like a this or that. So you're giving someone an easy way to answer. Like, oh no, I don't know any clients. I'm just interested in the business content you make. So trying to make it easy for people to reply. But what happens if you have really interesting ads? People will click on your profile because the ad has interested them, and then a lot of them will follow you. So even though that ad can't be attributed back directly, your revenue will go up, which is why I say you have to kind of look at the thing as a whole. So we will have, and I know there is AI setters out there who can do this for you. We've tried lots of them. In my opinion, there's not, if you have really high level DM setters, there isn't the people are worth having and paying instead, because the cost to us if AI messes up is not worth just having someone who's competent. And that's kind of the framework we would use.
Nice. Okay. So let's say then I'm kind of going through the journey a bit now. We're sort of in a linear path, right? So the ad is, I'm going to use a kid's word here, it's slapping. Yeah. Well, hopefully it's doing well. And it's giving us that traffic. You mentioned before around sometimes clients aren't even charging enough. So creating that compelling offer, and I suppose not only creating it, but also knowing it's ready and there's a market there for it. How do you define that?
I would define that in terms of how you get people to engage. A curiosity gap would be the first thing. And then whether there is a demand for it, is I would essentially test it on organic content for free and then see if people want the thing. So I think a lot of the times, and I'll give you a good example. I did a webinar 2 weeks ago, and I came up with this idea that the morning of it was genius. That like we could build these 5 AI tools. This is the classic entrepreneur thing. We could build these 5 AI tools. I can pitch this on the webinar, and this will crush. And I did it, and it crushed. And we hadn't even built the tools. So like I sold the thing before I built it. We have now built and then delivered it for transparency. But like actually try and sell and market the thing and see if people actually want it. So I think testing the messaging and the language and see if people are responding to that is important. So what does that look like from a practical sense? Dan Priestley would say send an email to your list and create a wait list of like, I'm creating this thing, would you like it? Put a poll on your Instagram story of I'm creating a group for men to be better fathers. Is this something you'd be interested in? Yes or no? If no one's engaging on it and you've got somewhat of an audience, it's probably not the right offer. Then I'd probably say no to it.
What data do you use to have as many sales conversations as you do at We Have a Meeting? Jack, what's the answer?
It's
I'll stop you there. It's Prospeo.
Oh, thank you.
And there's a reason why we use Prospeo, Jack. What is it? It's because it's 98% more effective than any other data provider on the market. And for those people that are wanting to cold call and make a difference right now, there's a little link in our bio. But if you are struggling, it's Prospeo. That's Prospeo. Prospeo. Get on them and start making some bloody calls.
And I know what you're thinking. I hope Prospeo is better than their relationship. Haha, Prospeo.
There's probably people listening who need to ask themselves some core questions around even building them. So I suppose, what are those kind of first principle questions on what they need to ask to even build it?
That's a brilliant question. So I think the best framework I like for people to think about is like, what big problems have you solved for yourself before that you can help someone else solve? So if I use myself as an example, I struggled to get in shape. I then got in shape, and then I could then help the younger version of me. I then struggled in terms of building my business because I didn't have anyone to help me. I was like super anxious and stressed all the time. So then my second business, I then helped the other version of Charlie, and you kind of work your way up from that. So I say, like, what problems have you solved for yourself before that other people have? And then secondly, is there proof of concept that anyone else is doing this? Now, there's two ways to kind of look at that if you think there's a lot of people coming into the market and it's saturated, that's actually a good thing to some degree because it shows there's money there. It just means, like, do you think you have the ability to then take a piece of that pie, essentially?
So you mentioned webinars before. Me and Zach hosted our first webinar the other day. So this is going to be a very, very selfish question. But why should people be thinking about hosting webinars? Is that not just another thing to worry about and set up?
I think if you have a platform and you have an audience and you have a system anyway, it's very easy to then, and you're comfortable talking like a group environment, it's very, very powerful. And it's also something you can improve. And if you do it monthly, you can keep trying to improve the thing over and over and over again. Transparency is something I was kind of reluctant to do because it's like, it's another thing. We already do this, and this. But then I like teaching and then also selling in a group setting. Now, why I think it's getting more and more impactful is because people like to see authenticity, and it's not like super polished and teleprompted, and you can kind of like mess around and have a bit of a joke on it whilst kind of going through some of these things. So the people will actually buy from the person who's selling because they resonate with the way he carries himself, the way he communicates. So I think that is having more a personal element. A webinar allows that much more than a VSL, which is teleprompted and was like so manufactured. It's like another level. And in 6 months' time, it'll just be AI probably doing them anyway.
Okay, so let's put you in the kitchen for a moment, Charlie. If you are the chef and you're creating the perfect pre-webinar and post, I guess what are the key ingredients? What do you need to do to make it a success?
First thing is, how do you get people onto it? So I've done free webinars, I've done paid webinars. I would personally always prefer to do paid because then I know the people on there have some skin in the game and the likelihood of them also turning up is much higher. So I made from the webinar we did 2 weeks ago, $2,000 to sell to people for an hour just from the tickets we sold. So it's like, and then I also made a YouTube video out at the same time. So like, if no one buys anything, I'm okay. It's not the end of the world. So I would always say have some type of price on the front end because you're creating a quality of person who's going to come on the call for that. They're less likely to be a tire kicker. Now, how to actually make that profitable and actually to give more value to people is, say what we did is it was £27 or £27 for the ticket to the webinar. And then we had an order bump that was £47 for a load of AI prompts that people could buy. And our average order value was around £50. It worked out for every person coming on. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like people kind of bought in, that's great. And then when you come into the when you're marketing the webinar, the ads that I find work best for that type of thing are super basic and like the ugliest thing in the world. So like we use black background, white text. And then the most powerful word you can use in marketing is like new. So ours was like new AI system to get you your next 10 clients or something. And then like the date. And then it just took them to the website. It was like, it looks so different that people just click on it because it kind of stands out because it's kind of really ugly. So sometimes thinking outside of the box with that and just testing different creatives. Why I like text graphic for stuff like that is because you can test multiple variations very fast. I don't have to film 10 different ads. I can just change the first line. So that's what I would do on the front end. And then with the paid advertising for that, we just ran that on warm audiences, retargeting. So like the easiest people to sell. Our email list, we have a school community with 6,000 people in it. And then a bit on my organic social media. So we didn't push that to cold because I wanted to try and test the whole thing and see how it went. The one we do the end of this month, we will push to cold traffic and then try and crank the volume up a little bit more. When it comes to the webinar, I use like the framework Dan Henry kind of teaches, which is very heavily in terms of like storytelling at the start about myself. So like the hero's journey. So I have a few slides about you. Then basically creating a gap. So like what I spoke about was how 50% of coaches will be extinct in 2026 because of AI. Here are the 5 things you need to make sure that you know you have from a software perspective, so you're not actually part of that 50%. I then went in and taught 2 to 3 things on AI that are pretty sick, but they weren't the 5 things. I then come into then the pitch, which was we've actually built out these 5 AI things in the tool, and we're creating a case study group. We were doing this for the first time, which we were. This is going to be $5,000, but essentially if you join our program today, this is free. So it's like a value ladder through that. And then throughout the whole presentation, which is showing examples of social proof of clients who'd made, we had a client, for example, who went from $39,000 to $120,000 in 4 weeks in August. So like he was one we showed a couple of times. So like storytell with yourself, clients, and like literally just screen share going through it. So then people can see people's own words, which is very powerful.
That's really cool. Very, very thorough. I think the bit that people will probably be interested in, it's probably a thing that people don't talk about on podcasts a lot. You've got the top of funnel. Obviously, that's exciting, sexy to get people in. Then you've got the retaining people, which we've talked about. And then there's probably, you start to get this bucket of maybe people who haven't worked with you for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. What do you do to make sure that that's just not a graveyard of people that you're never talking to again? How do you make the most out of those?
As in previous clients?
Yeah, previous clients, people who maybe have like dipped a toe in and not. There's probably loads of things that we could be doing there that people are just totally ignoring.
So I kind of touched on that earlier. And interestingly, we've had a lot of clients coming back to us the last 2 months. And I think a lot of that is down to like, we have innovated and changed sort of stuff, but it's from a marketing perspective. So you constantly have to innovate and have like a new angle you're kind of pushing. So we literally very heavily push like new AI, like ad systems, automation systems, and try and create that curiosity so people want to come on. And there's the curiosity, but then there's also fear. Those 2 things like kind of paired together work very well. From a targeting perspective, you can also, if you wanted to run ads at those people, you could take your email list, take all the emails of ex-clients and run ads specifically at them. But that would be kind of the main thing I would look at. It's just the marketing hooks and the angles and like the offer on the front end and what the big pain point is in your specific industry. But I think the combination of like curiosity plus fear is what pulls people in.
There's probably also a thing to ask you about on mindset, I suppose. So
yeah,
you've built 2 big businesses that you continuing to build businesses and make money from all different creative angles. There's probably like a tipping point of, I mean, you just said before, AI could potentially come in and totally take over. There's probably a tipping point of, is it now time for me to just ride out the storm and go quiet for a while? But it doesn't feel like you're doing that. It feels like you're still pushing. So how do you maintain the mindset to keep going, keep innovating, and keep pushing?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I'm addicted. I just love it. So like for me, it's like the podcast we did before this was on addiction. So I'm like dopamine addict. So it's like, okay, like what cool next thing can we build? So for me, specific legacy, you're nodding at this resonates act. Like I'm a builder. I like making stuff. Transparently, I don't like running businesses. I like building businesses. So like I like coming up with like the offer, the idea, the new thing, which is a massive strength, but also has been a downfall in the past because I can easily get distracted. And I've started software businesses and done other stuff that was probably not a great idea because I'm like, oh, it seems like a good idea until you start it. And so I think it's also understanding that like the first principle is what people really need. People will always want some form of coaching, regardless of whether you have AI or not. People will still want to work with people. But the second thing that's very powerful is we do a lot of in-person events. So we're focusing very much also in terms of branding, top of funnel. We do events like every single month. We have a very big event in mid-November in Dubai, which is kind of like a business mastermind around AI ads and kind of content. Link is in my bio if anyone wants it. But that's where I think it's going to get more and more powerful because people want to be around other like-minded people, in particular men.
Our book is out now. Sales is Therapy is available everywhere for people who are looking to get better at communicating,
asking better questions, closing more deals, and bringing in more clients.
Beware, it is not for the faint of heart or for closed-minded people.
You can buy it in all good shops, links below.
So you are right. I think it's the people thing. People want to have that that human connection. Obviously, there is only one Charlie Johnson, and there's probably not enough Charlie Johnson to go around. And as you scale as well, you want to keep that authenticity, but you also want to be like, yeah, I'm away building, and everything's running in the background. So how do you maintain that, like from a delivery standpoint, that you're getting the solution, but you're not necessarily always just getting me and my time?
Okay, so that's probably the game, is scaling a business, but you not being burnt out having to do everything. And there's two Charlies. We have Charlie AI, which is an AI version of me, which is also in Slack. So we have like 4,000 hours of calls where people can literally message me on Slack and it reply as me. Would be one example. But my job is essentially to build the frameworks and build all the trainings of like, this is specifically what you need to do, and find the latest stuff that's working and be like, Jack, this is what you can do. Zach, this is what you can do. This has just come out, because information half cycles are getting faster and faster and faster. So if you can learn things before other people, you have an unfair advantage. The second thing is we have a team in our business who are like Navy SEALs. So one of them actually was in the British Special Forces. They're very all in and they're very full on in terms of learning. So my goal is like cloning myself into these guys so that they can perform at a very high level. And we have a very cool culture within that where everyone enjoys what they do. We have fun and we kind of mess around a little bit as well inside of things. And I think that's also important for anyone who's listening to this. Probably the biggest thing I've learned in the last 12 to 18 months is importance of team culture. Like, people actually enjoy the people they work with. They work way, way harder.
So then if we think about, like, obviously money motivation is one thing, but you started off being Charlie Johnson that was kind of coaching people, and now you're leading a team and building things. What have you learnt about leadership along the way?
Not everyone just wants money. So like a good example for everyone here is you could go and get people to do like an ocean personality test. Like, you can see like what really matters to people. Because I've tried to motivate team members before by just throwing more money at them. It made no difference. But if I'm like, do you know what? Like, Zach, if you do X, Y, Z, we'll fly you to Dubai for our event in November with the whole team, and we'll go out to the desert and we'll do this. Like, that's what people actually want to do. Because similar to like clients want to be part of the event, team members want to be like part of cool stuff and experiences. So if you can build that within your business of what you do, and it's a tribe kind of mentality, then that is a big thing. Because I think actually second thing is certain individuals will want freedom. So like, if I was working for someone else, I wouldn't want to be micromanaged. So if you can find good people who have the ability to execute their job role and kind of give them the free reign they need that they've earned, they will love that. Because what I'm building in our business is also like entrepreneurs within our business. So they can be an entrepreneur, but they don't have to deal with the whole thing, just their silo, if that makes sense.
Nice.
Have you found anything that works really well when it comes to the actual building of the teams from a hiring standpoint? So where to find the right talent? That is one that comes up all the time.
Okay.
People
That's a great question. So we're kind of going full send on the hiring thing at the moment. I think we have 4 salespeople starting in the next 3 days. So the 2 things. So one is, and this is the why I say to everyone here, it's really important to build personal brand and organic social media. And this is what's really kicked me into high gear of realizing the power of this. Is I put up a story maybe like 4 weeks ago for looking for salespeople. We had like 50 people apply. Some of these guys are really good. And then it cost me nothing to hire these people and bring them in. It cost me nothing to advertise. And we did it again like a week ago, piles more people again straight away. So I was like, okay, cool. If you can create an attractive offer where people want to come in and work and people want to be part of something cool like a brand, like why do so many people, engineers go and work at Tesla? Because they want to be part of his mission and be around Elon Musk. So if you can create a cool environment where you do cool stuff, people want that. The second thing, which is maybe slightly unpopular to say, is we maybe have a slightly toxic masculinity culture in terms of the way we work, where like we're very competitive. We kind of have games. We kind of take the piss out of each other a little bit. And with that, people enjoy it. But we have to bring the right people into that environment. So like one of the best questions I always ask people, I look for people who are very driven. So I'll ask, what's the hardest thing you've been through in your life? In my opinion, that's one of the greatest tests of people. If I give an example of someone we hired last week, what he left his job, he then set up a copywriting business that was then wiped out pretty much by AI. And he basically wants to make money to fund his mum needs like a really expensive back surgery. I was like, okay, cool. So like you have the minerals to go and start a business and you have a really strong why, like you're clearly driven and you'll back yourself. So like we hired him and he's doing well. So that's kind of what I look at is, yes, have they got the ability, but do they also have the drive and the competence to then actually kind of figure some stuff out themselves?
You said the biggest thing you'd learned in the last 18 months was around culture, importance, how to build it. I suppose what was happening, say, 2 years ago compared to what's happening now?
It was just the Charlie Johnson show, maybe, where like I would just try and do, and I think a lot, like you're both laughing as well, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs do this, is I would try and just jump in and do everything myself. Look, I'm the best I can do X, Y, Z. And I become burnt out and I hate the business. And I would step over people who are working for me all the time. Whereas now I would try and be like, this is your realm. You deal with it. If you need me, just kind of ask. So I think that was a big thing, and probably not communicating enough with our team in an effective manner. So 2 big things that we've done is we use Slack and we have channels which are called Progress Every Day. So anyone who reports to me will send me a Loom video at the end of the day with like what they've done today, what they need help on, what their big focus is tomorrow. And anyone reports to them will do the same thing. So that means everyone's in a loop. There's not loads and loads of meetings. The second thing is we have a channel which is called Better Every Day, where a lot of it's kind of like personal development. So I'll share like cool podcasts, books I'm listening to, anything I kind of feel relevant. Sometimes we'll have a laugh and kind of take piss out to each other in it. But like we would create that kind of like fun environment and also trying to upscale and develop the people we have personally as well.
Nice. So I want to, so ads is obviously one world, but I think there are so many different platforms now, and organic content it's hard. Like people are, like you say, like borrowing or taking ideas. And what have you learnt, I guess, from like a psychology standpoint about capturing attention online?
Okay, so do either of you watch the news?
No.
Okay, good, because you definitely shouldn't. But if you look at the news, which is the most manipulated thing in the world, if you look at the news, that's another story. If you look at the news, everything is always negative. Why? Gets your attention. So like on everything you do, you always want to have a negative hook. So if for example, I'm like, here's the 5 best ways you can run your Facebook ads, or here's 3 things you should never do with Facebook ads, you're more likely to watch and continue listening to the negative one than the positive, because the way our brain is wired, we're more driven by fear than anything else. So that's probably the easiest hack I'd say to anyone, is to try and create that. You always try and use negative hooks a lot of the times in terms of your marketing, because it tends to pull people in more. The second thing I'd say is storytelling. So a great way you could do this with AI within content and marketing now is if you create a document which is to write every story you can think of in your life, from like childhood, like your dad teaching you to ride a bike, whatever. If you create that in a document and upload it into AI, you can use the AI to then like weave that into some of the stuff you're doing. So maybe whether it's LinkedIn captions, whether it's Instagram reels, whatever, and it can add to kind of like personal flavor into what you're doing.
This is something I've been thinking about recently, and I don't know whether it's true, so you can call me out. But do you think, I think buyers are more aware now than they were 70 years ago. So you go and buy an American car and you say, yeah, it's going to be great. And I take the word. We're all a bit more skeptical now. And as we're kind of going through the podcast world and all those things, I think, are people getting bored or tired or fatigued from this like negative drive and things like that? Like, do you think there's a time where it's just going to go full circle and actually the mundane and the boring cuts through?
I don't think the mundane and boring will, but I think one thing always will, which is a curiosity gap. So if you can say something that intrigues someone, they will continue to watch or continue to listen. So I think, yes, I said like negative hooks work better, but it doesn't mean necessarily every single piece of content has to be like the world's coming to an end. I think there's a balance to that, but I think the curiosity gap thing is everything. So if you look at why MrBeast crushes on YouTube, if you look at his YouTube, everything is a curiosity gap. The title, the thumbnail, like you're trying to get the person to take that next action. I think I would agree with you 100% that skepticism increases. And I see a difference between, I don't know if you guys work with different geographical locations, but if I look at, say, for example, the mainland European market versus the UK and Ireland or the US, the strategies work really, really easy in mainland Europe because they haven't been sold to with VSLs and direct ads as much as like the US and the UK is kind of been pillaged by it. So there's a consumer awareness where they get used to getting sold a certain way, which is where I see it's going to kind of go in cycles where maybe webinars will work really well for a period of time and then they'll get saturated with that. Then it will go to something else and then it always kind of goes in cycles, I think.
I've loved this, Charlie. I didn't know what to expect. I feel like I've been inspired. So yeah, thank you so much. We always end the podcast the same way. So when you think of people broadly listening to this right now, it could be outside of the topic we've been talking about. What do you think is one question people don't ask themselves enough?
What do I want in life and why? So and the reason I say that is because I asked, like, literally, I mentioned this a couple of times. This guy I had a podcast earlier. He said the most dumbfounding thing for him with his business when he started is he had to fill in a document of like, how much money do you want to make and why? What does your life specifically want to look like? And then if you actually take the actions like that every single day, then you finally get the life you want and you get the happiness or fulfillment you're looking for.
Amazing. Where do we send people then, Charlie? Where do they go next? They're probably ready to run for a war.
If you check out my Instagrams at Charlie Johnson Fitness and on my YouTube, we have a YouTube channel, Charlie Johnson Scaling Systems, has tons of nerdy business stuff if you want to learn about ads and marketing. And then we also have a podcast, which is called The Charlie Johnson Show, which you can find everywhere else if you search it.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you, Charlie.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.